And that's really important,
Right.
not just to each other. That's really important for our clients, because they're getting the benefits of that relationship and that synergy and that chemistry.
Sure. Real estate agents and loan officers. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the benefits of a really strong, mutually beneficial relationship between a loan officer and a real estate agent and how it benefits both parties. I'm here with Terry Henderson. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Joe. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, man. So this is a topic that we kind of thought of. We had lunch a week or two ago, and we were talking about your relationship with Mary at our office, and how it's really. Well, you tell me about that relationship.
I mean, Mary, as far as my business is concerned, like Mary is my right hand. We work so closely together. I think when your marketing department reached out to me, this is like 2-3 years ago, they had the idea of, you want to share your database with us, I'll help you foster these leads and do certain things of that nature. And so we started doing that and then just kind of developing more of this strategy because I sasaw a stat recently. If this puts it
I love
into
stats.
Yeah, so if this puts it into perspective, that 44% of salespeople give up after the first no.
Sure. Yeah.
And 60% of people purchasing don't say yes until after the fourth no.
Right.
So, and you know me pretty well, right? We toe that line, realtors toe that line of being persistent and being a pain in the butt and like, oh my God, this guy's calling me again, right?
Right.
And I don't ever want to be that. But I'm very direct and I'm very, I don't try to be pushy, obviously, but Mary has this very nurturing, calming, like she does it in such a way where she can, keep in touch with my client base. And she's so knowledgeable that they love hearing from her. She offers value when she calls. She's not just calling because she wants something. She's calling because she's offering something, saying, hey, I want you to know, here's where we're at. This is what the market's doing. Here's where the rates are doing. So I thought of you and I've given you a call. That, from my standpoint, helps me a lot because I'm not the one continuously.
Right. So she helps follow up. But in general, I mean, being in the business for 20 plus years and, seeing a lot of loan officers and a lot of real estate agents, and correct me if I'm wrong, they look at loan officers as like a necessary evil to get the money to the table. And that it's like they have their hands out like, please, may I have another loan, please? And we try to break that with the value. But how do you see that relationship, in those terms? And why do agents think that way?
So, I don't think a typical buyer is really jumping at the opportunity to provide all their financial statements, their tax statements, their bank statement, everything. You know what I mean? So when I'm talking to my clients, and I'm like, this is such a necessary part of the buying process. And we're not there currently, but we've been there in the past. I kind of anticipate that we're going to be there in the coming months, where time is of the essence. Getting offers in, being ready, and having a completed buyer package showing that you're not just qualified, approved. You guys offer a secured approval, which I tell my customers it's as good as cash because it is. You've already done the underwriting. It's nearly complete, so you can close quick, and you're ready to go. So when a buyer is encouraged to have that process done, sometimes they're not quite there. We're not even looking for homes yet. But in terms of what kind of market we're in, it's the first step. Before we're looking for homes, we have to know that we're working with someone who's qualified.
Sure.
And
so I guess what's the most important in that realtor loan officer relationship? What's the most important thing in your mind?
So for me, it's just, Mary and I have worked together for quite some time. So we're kind of developing this chemistry, and it's almost like an intuition as to what needs to be done in the course of a transaction or prior to a transaction when we're working with somebody. And, I kind of, I hate to bring athletics back up, but I bring it back to athletics. I had a friend growing up who Jimmy Bonenberger, who would never be on social media, but maybe it gets back to him. He and I played basketball together at Our Lady of Lourdes,
Yep.
and in third grade. We made the team in third grade. We played basketball together all through, grade school. When we got to MCC, we both made the varsity. And that coach at that time kind of saw us as the same player. And so I'd be in, Jimmy would sub for me. Jimmy would be in, I'd sub for him, right? So one game, halfway through the season, he put us both in at the same time. It was a game changer because we've been playing together for so long. We had this chemistry. I knew what he was going to do. He knew what I was going to do. And for like a 2-3 minute part of that game, we just kind of took over.
Yeah, you knew if where he could catch the ball, where he could make a shot.
Exactly.
Like
I knew if he was cutting to the basket. I knew all of these things.
Right.
So and then when I got into the work world, even before real estate, I noticed that same kind of dynamic took place when you're in a meeting with somebody. And it's like, all right, are you going to bring this up, or am I going to bring this up, or how do we approach this? Mm-hmm. And so working with Mary, she's just we're dialed in like that, and that's really important.
Right.
Not just to each other. That's really important for our clients, because they're getting the benefits of that relationship and that synergy and that chemistry.
Sure. Well, I look at the business that you do together, right? There's can be a multiplier effect, right? Mm-hmm. If you have good synergy and it presents well, and the transaction's over, well, we're not transactional. We get business from business. Do you think having that Mary or having a team, because you have probably other pieces to your team, do you think that helps with that multiplier effect?
Well, for sure, because it's not, like you said, it's not about the transaction.
Right.
It's about the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything that we do, I mean, sure. One of the first people that I worked for in real estate, I like the way he said it. He said, we are not the people out chasing checks. In other words, like, I want that transaction. I want that commission. Yeah, that's how we pay our bills. That's what butters our bread. But that can't be the approach. It has to be the relationship. And in a town like this, you have to be playing the long game and doing what's best for your client, not now so that maybe you get paid, but what's going to benefit them 3, 5, 7, 10 years down the road.
Sure.
That they're going to want to continue to work with you. Mm-hmm. So I think, that's a big part of this town. It's about the community. I've been here 40 years. Right? I'm going to burn somebody. Right. You know what I mean? So you can't view things.
It's a small town.
Yeah. You can't view things through the lens of the transaction.
Right.
It has to be through the relationship.
So, in that, if you were to give advice to other agents out there about that relationship, what kind of advice would you give to foster a good relationship, or why it's valuable to have that relationship with a loan officer?
So it's really, first of all, there's a lot of lenders out there.
There are a lot of lenders.
There's a lot of lenders. There's a lot of realtors, and there's a lot of business, right? And there are lenders in town who I absolutely love. I mean, I love them as people.
Yep.
I would love to have tons more business and work with them as well. But for the workload that I have, Mary handles it and then some. I can't give her enough, and she helps me develop and foster more business. So, from my standpoint, it's one of those things where I rely on her. I truly do. She's like, I probably speak to her every day, and if I don't, I definitely speak to her the next day.
Right.
This weekend I was watching 60 Minutes, and the Fed chairman was
Jerome
doing
Powell one. Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm texting Mary, on a Sunday night, just being like,
Actually, Mary sent me that.
No kidding? Yeah, I sent the popcorn,
Yeah.
meme or whatever, because it's so much of what happens we're tracking and we're talking about, not because we're reacting to that market or those rates or whatever, but because we're trying to get in front of it. And how do we position our clients in the most strategic way to benefit them? Mm-hmm. And it's all about, being in tune with the market, with the community, with one another, and that ultimately benefits the client.
What would you say to the agent that says something like, "Well, I let the client choose whoever they want as a lender," right? I mean, which I don't have a problem with them choosing their lender, but
of course
they don't refer a lender. Why would they do that? And what would you say to that agent?
Well, I mean, it goes back to what we just said, right? It's the first step,
right,
in the process, or should be. So, I just recently found myself in this situation where I met somebody at an open house. They already had their lender in place. And, she's done a lot of work on that. Now, I don't know this lender. She seems to be doing a good job. I'm working with her, but I don't have that relationship with her. And so there's times where it's like, it's just so much easier when I can call Mary or text Mary or whatever. I know if Mary doesn't answer her phone, I'm getting that call back within the next 5 or 10 minutes. It's just, she's on the phone because she hits the phone quite a bit.
That's her job.
That's
right?
her job. So it does happen where I do work with other lenders, and I talked to Mary about this too. I'm like, Mary, I can't swipe this deal from her to you. She's been working on it for God knows how long.
Sure.
Like, all of us are in this to make a living.
Right.
We don't do it for fun. Although it is
fun.
It can be fun.
Yeah.
It
Can be a lot of fun.
It can also not be fun sometimes, but you're right. It can be fun.
So what is the secret? The secret that to this relationship. Like, what's the why? Like, why is it important to have that? Like, to you, how does it benefit you? Let me put it that way. How does it benefit you directly to work with? We'll just take Mary out of the picture. How does it benefit a real estate agent to work with a loan officer that acts a certain way?
Actually, let's put Mary back in the picture. So Mary, a lot of times, because I get so much coming at me at once, sometimes I get distracted. So I might not email this person back right away. It's on my list, or I started to email them and then I got hit by a phone call, and then I got to get back to that email. But Mary's the one who keeps me on track a lot of times, right? Because she's the model of organization, and she helps me because we're working towards the same goal. And so just having that person to count on, it's really important.
Okay, so let's go outside of
taking Mary out.
No, we can keep her back in.
Okay.
But let's go outside of like the organizational piece, right?
Uh-huh.
What benefits does that synergistic relationship have to you financially?
Oh.
So what benefits?
I mean, do you have a calculator?
I probably could find one around here somewhere. I think it's recording this.
Knowing Dwayne and Kirk, they would want me to calculate that and know exactly what that adds up to.
Yeah.
I've never done that, but that is an interesting point that I've never really considered.
Well, it's not just. I mean, I guess a good loan officer can refer you business. Right?
Sure.
They can go into your database or your mutual database, conjure up clients and give them back to you. Right? They're following up their clients to keep them on board with you, those kind of things. I don't know if you track that, but we do here. Like, we look at how many leads do we give back to the real estate agent. And that's a good synergistic relationship. And so going back a step, the agents that don't have that relationship, they're missing out on a whole bucket of business.
So it's super important. I think if you're asking me, like, if I was a new agent, what would my approach be?
Sure.
I would go to every networking event and get to know everybody. I was very fortunate when I first started out. I hooked up with David Curry, and Dave he's the king of networking, right? I'm having dinner with him tonight, as a matter of fact. And so and he had already had a close relationship with Morgan Financial and different title companies in town or whatever. So they would throw events. Go to those events, get to know those people. You always have a certain chemistry with certain people that you're just going to hit it off with, right? That doesn't always equal dollars and cents in terms of a business relationship, but it's a start, right? So I would say go to all of those events, get to know everybody. Like I said, there's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of realtors. There's a lot of lenders. There's a lot of title options, but get to know everybody. And then kind of hone in on, where you think the best fit is for your business, for your personality, and take all those variables into account.
Yeah, I mean, we're like a lot of markets. We're not Los Angeles or New York, right?
We're perfect.
But even in those other markets, you still have the niches and you have the cliques that go together. So we know, a lot of your competition and peers. I know a lot of ours, and I'm friendly with a lot of loan officers in towns. And there's a lot of good loan officers, a lot of good agents.
Yeah.
So it's, I think a good loan officer has to provide value to the real estate agent, right? And a good real estate agent has to provide a reciprocal amount of value. We're not talking about kickbacks or illegal things. I'm talking about real value of providing, closing on time. That's got to be, right? You can't not close on time, because that hurts the whole transaction. Having a seamless process. Having a process on how you deal with clients on both sides, And when these things come together, like you said, I mean, great music can be made and the customer feels it, you know? So there's that intangible good. And then there's the processes of, well, is the loan officer following up with your leads? I mean, they have to follow up with your leads.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised. There's loan officers that just don't follow up. They don't want to make the phone calls,
Sure.
you know? And so is the loan officer handling your database? You know, when I say handling, are they reaching out and trying to ask for business to bring something back to you, that value, you know?
Well, I'll put it in perspective. So last year, you know, rates started creeping up.
Sure.
Right?
I remember 2 years ago.
So, yeah. So, but deals were still happening, right? And my clients were buying and working with Mary. And now we're leveling off a little bit,
yep.
stabilizing, kind of creeping down. And I saw one of my clients who happens to be a really close friend as well. And he's like, oh, Mary called me the other day.
Yeah.
And just letting them know, hey, here's where we're at. Things are starting to level off. I don't think you're at the point yet where maybe you want to refinance, but I just wanted to keep you posted on what's going on with the market and with the rates. And I appreciate that. I mean, I know I'm going to see that guy this weekend, and
Right.
you know, but to know that Mary's also there, where I might not to think, hey, are we going to, you know, you want to list a house? I know you just moved in January, but you want to, you know.
But you never know.
You never know.
But they might have friends or family, and Mary
Exactly.
probably is asking them, hey, do you know anyone right now who's looking to buy or sell?
And again, she's not looking for anything.
Right.
She's calling them because she's a professional. She's offering value. She's letting that person know, because you know how hard it is to the average person to know where the rates are?
Right.
You know,
Because there's a lot of fluff out there.
There's a lot of fluff. So they get their information based on rumors. Oh, I heard it's at this.
Oh, gosh.
It's
That's
not.
the worst. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So it's really important that you have somebody that Mary's that's when I do go to refinance and I want to list this house and I want to buy another house, I've got this relationship with her, and she works with Terry, and I know Terry's going to be out, you know, pounding the pavement, looking for the right place or whatever it is. But it's really important that you have that chemistry.
Yeah. On those calls, I mean, Mary does genuinely, I mean, a good loan officer genuinely cares about their clients. Genuinely.
Mary
right?
genuinely cares.
And they can provide value back to their client by asking them. I mean, because a good loan officer feels like if they don't use me, you know, that's terrible, because I know I'm going to take care of them. You know,
Right.
I know I'm going to do a good job for them. I know they can trust me. I'm going to take care of them. They literally think that if they use someone else, that's not good, because they know they're going to take care of them, right? And so Mary also wants to help provide value, or good loan officers can provide value by finding other people they can take care of, right? And they know you're going to take care of them. So
Of course.
boom.
But you know what's funny? I got to tell a little story about Mary. So when we went to purchase our home, Mary was our loan officer.
Okay.
And when we went through the process and you know, getting our credit scores and everything done, and realizing what we were going to be approved for or whatever, my girl got a little emotional. Okay. She was like, I've worked so hard for this, and she has. But as she's getting emotional, Mary gets emotional. She gets emotional because she cares.
Right.
Because Mary genuinely cares. And that's who I want to hitch my wagon to, is because those are the same values I have for my clients. I care about them. Mm-hmm. I'm not, I want the right thing for them. And I'm going to do everything I can to put them in the position for them to find the right home. Because, Joe, it's a home.
Right.
You know, it's not like we're selling things that's like, I'm just going to
not
forget
a
about
widget.
it. It's not a widget, man. It's important. And that never is lost on me, that what we are selling is a really important piece to families.
Mm-hmm. You know, it is important. And I think there's another piece in here that going away from that's important. Like, you got to have that, care for your client. It's not a transaction, like you said before. It's not about, like, I literally, it's not about the money. I mean, I know we have to have money to live, but like,
It can't be the driver.
It can't be the driver, right? Getting people in homes, you know, relationships, these are the drivers. But I also look at the opportunity. You know, there's a lot of loan officers out there that do the job. You know, they do the job. They take a lead. They, you know, does it fit into the boxes? It fits in the boxes, and they give them a loan. You know, if you can call any bank and not not everyone at the bank acts that way, but you can call most banks and you can call some, big national lenders.
Sure.
And they'll take your information and they will spit out a loan. And just like I say, it's only hard when it's easy until it becomes hard, right? When there's a problem. And so a good loan officer won't just take your information and spit out a loan. They're going to take your information and give you options.
Right.
And not the difference between a 15 and a 30, but hey, what if we, instead of putting this much down, what if we paid this off?
Yes.
And you're going to improve your cash flow.
Right.
Or what if we put more down out of here? Or, there's options, other ways to get from A to B. And people don't know that until they know that. They call in saying, I want this, this, and this, and this. And they get, would you like fries with that?
Right.
And it's an order.
Right.
A good loan officer, this is one of the things that a lot of agents don't realize, is that a good loan officer will give that person options they themselves didn't know they had. And that helps generate that feeling. And the client might not even realize it at the time. So, a lot of loan officers can take the orders, and I maybe that's why a lot of real estate agents think, well, you're only as good as your last deal, right? Because anyone can take that order.
Well, so can a web page.
So can a web page.
Right? I mean, so
It's
what's
true.
the difference?
What is the difference?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I think you're talking about, is that this connection, right? And it's not just because it makes your life easier, but it does. I mean, if Mary's following up with clients, if a good loan officer is following up with clients on a regular and timely, predictable manner, reporting back to you, getting people to closing on time as promised, with less stress and coming up with solutions they didn't know they had. When you refer that person, you look like a genius.
Sure.
And it takes away that pain. But there's also the things that they don't see or know that a good loan officer will do. Same as a good realtor. And so let me ask you this question. You know Mary's value, right? You know that loan officer. You know the value of a good loan officer. We'll just put it that way. I love talking about Mary, but we've said her name enough. Okay, I don't want her head to
There's
get too
something
big.
about Mary.
Something about Mary.
Something about Mary.
But you understand that value of a good relationship, right? And so how do you refer in a way that sounds how do you refer without sounding pushy and saying you have to use Mary? Because you're not going to say that.
I don't say that.
Right,
I just say I work with the best people in town. I've lived here 40 years. So I'm not making that up. I'm not working with a mediocre lender. I'm not working with a mediocre, plumber or inspector, right? I'm working with the people that I know they're the best.
So how do you refer them? Like if the client says, how does that work?
I say I have the best inspector. I have the best lender. Talk to her first.
Okay.
That's how I do it. And, generally I think I don't, this is going to come off salesy. I'm a horrible liar.
Okay, good.
So
Me too.
I can't lie. So it's like when I say that, it's not like I've got the best lender, wink, wink. It's like I totally believe it. So most of my clients trust me when I say something like that. I'm genuine, I'm authentic, because I'm genuine and authentic, and I'm direct. I'm very direct I'm probably more direct with clients than most people. I don't sugarcoat things, although I probably need to learn to somewhat soften the blow on certain things. But so when I say that, I'm like, you need to talk to her first. And so that's the first step. If I'm the inciting incident, if you will, So I start and go, call her. Let's get the paperwork in order. Let's get ready, and then we can go. And then I usually say,
well, you value your time too.
And then I say, and let's go shopping.
But you value your time.
Yeah, no. So I mean, it's one of those things. Like back in my early real estate days, I'm doing leads.
Right.
Like I'm buying leads and I'm doing all this stuff, and it's expensive, and I don't know these people. And hey, call Mary. That's one thing. They don't know me at all. It's another thing where like my business has shifted because I've been doing this such a long time that I'm not buying leads, because half these people, I don't know if they're qualified. I don't know if they really want to buy a home,
right?
But it's my time that I'm spending on it. And at the end of the day, this is my livelihood, right? So the majority of my business now are either people that I've known around town for the last 40 years living in Brevard County, or past clients that are, this is my 8th year in real estate. So now we're getting to the point where people are calling me, hey, we're thinking about selling, because I sold them that house.
And they might have seen you on your podcast.
Oh, obviously. I mean, the podcast, it drives business like crazy.
Everyone should do it.
Yes, everyone should do it. It's super fun and it's not stressful at all.
This one is totally not stressful.
I hope not. Right? I mean, I try to ignore everything. Just like, all right, you're asking me questions.
Yeah.
I think you're looking for an answer, but I don't know.
I'm not
I don't
looking
know
for
if
any
I'm giving you
specific
the
answer.
right one, but I'm trying.
No, I'm not looking for any specific answer. I'm literally curious to how your brain ticks.
Yeah.
No.
You know what? That's a good thing because it would probably scare the
I
hell
know
out of me.
mine would scare the heck out of you. So there's value in that good, what we call that, a synergistic relationship. There's a lot of value in growing that. I love when, well, I don't love this, but some agents will say, yeah, loan officers are only as good as their last deal because they're expendable.
Yeah,
And to me, I'm
buy
like,
into that.
well, it's synergistic. To me, you have to, as a loan officer, like I said, you have to provide value back to the agent. And if you're providing that value to the agent, that agent's going to want to provide value back to you. Because like you said, you depend on Mary, right?
Yeah.
And Mary depends on you. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Sure.
I don't know if I used that word right, but I think it's a
I think that is.
symbiotic relationship. Yeah. They work together. What kind of questions do you have on the lending side, or like how we perceive that, or things like that?
You brought something up earlier, and I think what I would like to know as a realtor on a more kind of micro level is like what you said. Hey, what if we pay this off? What if we pay this off? Like,
Okay.
what's the best way of structuring this so that we're in the best position to make this offer? I don't need to know their finances, obviously. I don't want to know their finances, but I would like to know different approaches that we can take or that my clients can take that put them in a stronger position. So just knowing that kind of stuff, rates obviously are a big one. I like to know the rate daily. I want to know what it's doing. So when I'm talking to Mary, I'm like, hey, where are we at? Where are we at? My understanding is things are leveling off right now. I'm very optimistic about that. I think one of the challenges for us as realtors last year was not that the rate was going up. It was at the rate that it was going up.
Right.
And trying to get in front of that proved very difficult. And I think probably weeded out a lot of realtors, which might not have been the worst thing because there might not have been the people that, are providing the value to their clients. But I think that stabilization, knowing in the back of our head, we all have it, all the experts are saying it's going to come down, it's going to come down. We don't know that it's going to come down, and we never promise that they are coming down. We just know what people that know way more than you or I are saying they are. That doesn't matter. What matters is right now we've got this level of stabilization.
Well, so let me address that real quick.
Sure.
So the stabilization, here's the thing. At the beginning of 2023, all the talking heads said the rates would be in the 5s by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And they were not, okay? So the client, and think about your client. They're watching Fox, they're watching CNN, doesn't matter which side they're watching, and everyone's saying the rates are going to come down. So what are they doing? They're not buying because in their head, why buy now?
Waiting. Now,
here's the other thing that happened. Prices did not go down, they went up. And this topic right here, it's the objection of I'm waiting for the rates to fall, is the biggest one I hear. It's 76% of buyers said they didn't buy because they're waiting for rates to go down.
Right.
While they were waiting, prices went up another 5% last year-ish. Right. This year they're going to go up another 5%. So while they're waiting for the rates to come down, they're actually going to pay a lot more for that house.
Right.
And they didn't lock in. Now, I don't know if rates are ever going to come down.
Yeah.
And when I say come down, they're never going. I had a person tell me tell one of our loan officers the other day that they're waiting for the rates to get into the 3 or 4s again.
Well, they're going to be waiting a long.
They're going to be waiting a long time.
Yeah.
Prices are going to go up, and they're going to pay a lot more for that house because of the demographics of our country right now.
So, backing up towards last year and the prior year, we were told, hey, last year, rates are going to start coming down last year. Right? At the beginning or the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, rates are going to start coming down.
They said that again this year.
Right. But they didn't. Right.
Correct.
So, and now they're still saying it. And we've had a little relief from December, but then January kind of came back up. So my point is the experts are probably right as to the rates are going to do that, but they're not right on when.
Right. Yeah.
So what I always say to my clients is, so right now we're finally in a market where, and I track it every day, right? This is how many active listings are in Brevard County. And it's, whatever. I saw that number dwindle to like high 500s when we were in an inventory crisis. And now we're back well up over 3,000. So back then, people were shopping for houses there weren't many of them.
Correct.
Right? So how many people were going after the same house?
Right.
Many. Let's say they were asking $1 million for that house. And there's 10 people that want the house. Is $1 million going to get the job done?
No.
So what are you going to spend to get it?
$1.2 million or $1.1 million.
I want it, Joe. I really want it. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you want to do? Is that the house you want? It's your home.
Right.
This is, again,
Comes back to the home.
It's not a widget. So from my estimation, and I put my money where my mouth is, I bought my home last year, right? Because it was the right home. And I don't love the rate right now, but I can afford it.
Right.
And so I'm not concerned about it right now. I'll stomach it until it gets in the threes with that one client that you said. You know, I'm sure it'll get there.
But that's the thing. It's for it to go in the threes again. We need a pandemic.
A crisis.
We need a war.
Yeah,
we need a
crisis.
crisis. I don't want those things. Don't want
I
them.
totally agree.
So it's funny because a lot of lenders were out there pushing 2-1 buy downs. Okay, you've heard this.
Sure.
And they were pushing this for the last 2 years. Well, what's going to and we had the ability to do it. When I explained to someone, and I have a point here, I promise. When I explained to someone that, look, the cost of the buy down is exactly what you're going to save over the next 2 years.
Right.
No one took it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also, and so the problem I see coming up is that a lot of those 2-1 buy downs, they're in their second year, so their payment has gone up, and the rates haven't gone down.
Right.
Because a lot of loan officers said, "Oh, just refinance it. You know, in the next 2 years, rates should come down."
Yeah.
Well, what happens when they're back to their original payment and they're used to paying a lot less every single month?
Right.
And so talking about the rates, well, that is a potential issue. But I think people will figure that out. But the rates this year, yes, they're saying they're going to go down. But now that number keeps going up of how far it's going to go down, right? When I say down, I mean up. God, up, down, who knows? But when I say the rates they were expected originally to be in the 5s by the end of the year. Now they're saying they're going to be in the 6s because it keeps getting pushed out because the economy isn't faltering as fast. And we're in an election year too.
Right.
And the government does not like to not be in power. It doesn't matter whose side it is.
Yeah.
The government wants to stay in power. Right. They're going to make things are going to get a little better. The economy is going to look good this year. You know, rates aren't going to bottom out. They're going to come down to just like gas. Gas will come down a little bit. But depending on who gets back in power, it could go up or it could go down.
Sure.
So it's all this year is going to be very different, I think.
Well, so when I was watching 60 Minutes with Jerome Powell,
Yep.
And he explained why he wasn't cutting the rate yet.
Correct.
And I forget the interviewer. I know his face, but I don't know his name. But he said a lot of people were mad at you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think it was a good move. I
agree.
haven't agreed with Jerome Powell on everything he's done, but let's let this dust settle a little bit. Let's stabilize things, and because again, it wasn't that the rate went up; it was how fast the rate went up.
11 times.
If it plummets, then we're going to be scrambling again.
We're going to have the same problem.
We're going to have the same problem. We're going to have an inventory problem. People are going to be overpaying for houses that they're lukewarm about, rather than getting the house they want, which they are in the position right now that they can get the house they want. And that's what I say to my clients. I don't know when the rate's going to go down. I don't know if it's going to go down. I know what experts are saying.
Right.
And so take that for what it's worth. But if you can afford this and it's the right house, then, let's put a deal together.
Yeah. Going back to Jerome Powell, he was put in place by Barack, stayed in place when under Trump. He kept him on, actually reaffirmed him, and then Biden as well. So it's not a political thing.
It's not.
Yeah. And what he did say though, they said, well, they try to pin him down on when you're gonna. They meet 8 times a year, and the next meeting's in March. Are you gonna lower the rates in March?
He said probably not.
Probably not. Unlikely, I think. But the data will drive them there, right?
Sure.
Well, you look at March. That's the end of the first quarter. And so second quarter is when they're predicting that they'll actually drop the rate, because if you're steering that freighter, it's a freighter. Our economy is a freighter.
Correct.
And when you're steering that freighter, we're not at that 2-point target. Right now we're at 3 points, but we're headed towards it. Right. Well, if you don't start steering the other direction, you're going to well overshoot your mark, and it could cause some problems. But let's go back. Let's wrap up on this. So I believe that a good relationship between a loan officer and a real estate agent can make both parties very successful. Right?
I agree. Yeah.
And I also believe a good loan officer can make a good real estate agent a lot of money, and a bad loan officer can lose a good real estate agent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of heard your take. It's like the synergies you have with Mary, is important, and that's hard to replace, you know. And that Mary isn't as good as her last deal. She's got coins in the bank, right? Trust coins in that bank. And if she makes a mistake, you might remove a couple, depending on how egregious it is. You might remove some of those trust coins, but all the trust isn't lost. And because people make mistakes, right? So that relationship is valuable, right? And so if just parting phrases, how would you, we kind of talked about this, and I'm not looking for a specific answer. But how, if you're a real estate agent, and what would you tell the real estate agent that doesn't have that relationship?
Get on it. I mean, when I first started out, I had a friend from college who was a loan officer in Tampa. And I didn't know anybody, and there's a lot to learn. You can pass your test, but that doesn't make you a realtor.
That's right. A 64-hour course.
Yeah, it doesn't make you a realtor. There's a lot of information. It's not easy, but it's like day one. None of that's going to help you get business,
right? And
work through the a contract, and here's how we do this, and the ins and outs of it. So he was really instrumental in teaching me. All right, well, you're writing this for a condo, so you need to, like all the details of what's the occupancy, how many owners, all those details that you don't even think about that are important to the underwriting process. So he was very important in that role, but we shifted to this. So I would first say, find someone that you have a level of trust with that might even be willing to take you under their wing and kind of show you the ropes a little bit. But then we got in a market where, you're working with a out-of-town lender,
right? Yeah,
you know what I mean. So now my
That's
offer
too bad,
is now my offer is 2 down, right? So I think the importance of working with local lenders is tantamount, and along with that comes local appraisers that know the local area. All of those things factor in. So I would say get with somebody who's going to show you the ropes, but then go to networking events, meet everybody, and then start forming relationships. You have to have relationships with everybody. This is a small town. It's a small, tight-knit community, particularly within real estate, lending, title, insurance, you name it. In the course of a transaction, you got to have all those people. You're a realtor. You got to have a plumber. You got to have an electrician. You got to have, you have to have all of these things, that a roof or whatever, because your clients are going to ask you for a lead on, hey, this is happening, I've got a leak, who should I call, or, whatever it is. And you have to have a Rolodex of people that you trust. And it's important that you know who the best guys in town are, and you develop relationships with them. I think for me, it's I'm fortunate that I've been here as long as I have. So people that I've known for decades just happen to be the best in town.
Well, now you're the hub too. And so your clients are going to, you've created a system where they're going to follow up with you because maybe they want a plumber, like you said, electrician or a roofer. Now you're that hub, and they're following up with you, and they don't even realize it, but they're following up with you, and you get to stay in touch with them that way by being that hub.
Right.
So cool.
So when I'm like making sales calls, I never make sales calls. I touch base with people that I tell people that real estate's the best job in the world, that I am incentivized to stay in touch with my friends.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So, hey, what's going on? They'll ask me about real estate. I don't have to force anything on them or sell them anything, Just connect with the people and then people will ask you about it eventually.
Good. A lot of good information, Terry. Do you want any last parting words before we...
I think we've said quite a bit.
Quite a bit. Yeah. So good.
Plus, this room is kind of getting a little
It's getting a little warm. This sweater is a little hot. So, I don't know. It might be us. Thank you for watching. If you found any value in this, hit the like button, subscribe, share, do all these things. And if you need a good agent, give Terry a call. If you need a good loan officer, give the good people at Morgan Financial and Mary Cables here, give us a call, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.